me start. Okay. Thanks very much. I'm really, really glad to be here. I'm new to Monki Gras, obviously, and I really enjoyed yesterday's talks everywhere. It was a really good environment to be inspired by, and I couldn't know how I can really follow that one up on. Really nice slides and everything, so I got this one. It's hand-drawn, so hopefully it's going to work. Do you really want to be this cheap? I'm not using this word cheap here as a monetary sense necessarily, but more in sort of like an attitude, like cheapo or something not very important, and you're going to see it later. What do I mean by it? I'm an experimental physicist doing marketing, I'm doing engineering, doing communities at Resin, and it's very interdisciplinary environment, so I'm bringing that one with me. So yesterday's talks were really, really great in the sense of digging down in particular cases that you can work with packaging, but it feels like that one size doesn't fit all. You can have very, very different projects within your company or within your setup that requires very, very different treatments. So for example, myself have a lot of repositories on GitHub. I think last time it was more than 300, and I don't know what more than 10 of them is, even though I made them. And in our company, I think we have 5 GitHub organizations at least, and probably 1,000 repositories. Like, one size doesn't fit all. I cannot think about all those projects and all those code in the same way. You have to have some kind of different model to do that. And one of the things I really enjoy doing is taking online courses. One of the courses I took recently, thank you edX and MIT, supply chain management. Don't ask why, but it's so much fun. And one of the main ideas is that they try to project that, for example, in a retail environment, when you have a big range of products, you have to segment them. You cannot treat them all the same way. If you shove them up on a graph and you see them, which are the products that you sell, maybe a big bunch with very little margin, or there are a big bunch that are the majority of your revenue for the high margin products, you have to treat them very, very differently. And if you think about your own projects, you can also draw this kind of graph. What are my projects that have very, very little impact, and what are the ones that are very impactful, very, very visible, which are the high margin things? So if I think about the low margin things, following the retail metaphor, I can think of all these little things like toilet paper in the supermarket, or SD cards that you buy off Amazon. And you get these little packages that like really, really hard to open. It was really, really designed to be for the convenience of the company that manufactures it. It's not for the convenience of you. It's very low margin, so you treat it as such that get it out of the door as easily, as quickly as possible, and as cheaply as possible, and let the user try to find the scissor and not cut themselves to open it. So everybody knows these kind of shrink-wrapped, annoying things everywhere. So these things, in terms of your code, I'm thinking like this is a garbage bin, a large one, but I don't mean that you should treat your code or these kind of repositories that fall under this category of low margin, not very important things as garbage, but it's something that you don't really care about. If the garbage can behind the building, if somebody takes something from there, you wouldn't care, would you? Really, it's all just like get it out of there. So that's most of your code, like things that you made at a hackathon, or experimentations, or projects that didn't quite work out, or all of these experimental little things that you don't really care about, and most of it is maybe even possibly garbage. Now, how to deal with this end of the things? Not necessarily the way that yesterday's speaker was talking about, but treat it as, deal with them with as simple tools as possible. Yeah, that's a pretty decent shovel for my standards, but probably you guys know how to draw much better. So use very, very simple tools. Like, don't worry too much. That's the supply chain analogy as well, is that make it as simple and as out of the mind as possible. So maybe just shove it into a version control and put it up somewhere, and then you be done with it. Probably these are the repositories that the first speaker was saying that 80% of the repos on GitHub don't even have a license. That is this long tail, the low margin, not very important code that you just deal with it and get out of the way with them. Now, there's also the high end. What are your high margin repositories? What are your high margin projects? What are the things that are really, really, really important to you? I was trying to think of what would be the analogy of treating a project or a product as really high margin in the software space, but it's kind of difficult to think about it. In the retail space, it would be, for example, a nice laptop, your brand new smartphone, or a very nice car that you have, which you really enjoy opening up. Like, the unpacking is part of the experience even. Like, getting started is part of the experience even. Unlike the low end, the low margin end, it just all garbage, the packaging. The high end, even the getting started, getting up to speed is part of the experience. So in the software space, it's much harder to figure out what kind of analogy goes for this. And what I was thinking, maybe, for example, operating systems might be similar to that one, but that's also, when you open your laptop for the very first time, you treat it really, really well. Like, whether it's Windows, I haven't had a Mac, I'm sorry. On Linux, that's not the case, but systems that come with operating systems. And you treat it very well, and you treat it like a luxury customer, in a way, even if you are not. So I'm thinking, what are the experiences where you can create that kind of feeling that opening the box is part of the experience? Like, when my colleagues were got a new laptop, that was also Lenovo, not this one, but the Developer X1, and we opened it up as, oh, it's wonderful. It's open sideways, and it makes a really nice whoosh noise when you close it up. Even the box was so interesting. Now, can we make this sort of experience in the software space as well? Sorry. Yeah. So how would you do that in software? The tool I'm thinking about using here is lots of Sparkle. I don't really have the answer how you should treat your project as a high margin product. It's something that is really, really important to you, even more than you think it is now, even more than yesterday's speakers were putting the effort around all these repositories, but something like a real luxury experience. I think it would make a very big difference about how your users are interacting with your project if you can get this kind of high margin thinking. And how does it come from? Maybe we can learn from the luxury brands, the ones that are downtown London, or for example, Hong Kong is full of luxury brands. And the retail has a lot of experience about that one. And the case will be different for everybody. And it's very difficult to stand out in an environment where the tools are standardized, but you still have to try something new around it. So there's also the third region. Yes. There's also the third region, which is in the middle. That's the thing, is that not quite high margin, and not quite low margin way of thinking about a product, but something in the middle. To me, those are those kind of products. What, for example, Amazon does. Have you guys ever heard of frustration-free packaging? Yeah.
I've never seen it, but I have heard of it.
That's probably very true. It's a work in progress. So frustration-free packaging, it kind of means that we have a low-margin product, but we still try to make it easier for you. We try to make it behave better for you, so we don't have the company's benefits first approach, and we don't quite have the consumer's benefit first approach, but something optimized in there that our margins can make it possible, but not going crazy along the way. This would be an artist rendering of that one. Like the little dot there shows where you should pull, and then you can just open the box. You don't have to look for some scissors to open it up. I think these kind of things in the middle, moving up a little bit on the curve, are enabled by scale, that companies have experience around the things that they are doing, and they automate things along the way based on their experiences. This, of course, comes with more trash, because to make these kind of things scale, something that is more sophisticated than the basic packaging, but is still not too big, you have to standardize a little bit more. So, for example, you would have packaging that maybe a little bit larger than the things that you are shipped. Maybe you have more little beads in there that necessary, just to make it work, to standardize across the products. But the end result is that all those experiences are enhanced. So at this area, the middle section of the curve, I would say the tools that are there for you is automate as many things as possible. So here, for example, GitHub is your good friend, or repositories like that gives a lot of does a lot of work for you. The issue trackers, using templates, there, it's all kind of taking the frustration out. If you fill out your issue templates, and then people come and report something, you suddenly have helped them in a way that is not too much work for you, a little bit more than just leaving it there, but suddenly it's much more better experience for everybody. Or docs generation, the way, for example, Rust does it, that automate the docs coming out of the code directly. That's part of these efforts. Now, one of the comparison analogy I was thinking about along the way yesterday is things like restaurants, takeout, and cooking at home. Restaurants is the very high margin. Like you do all the work for the people, and there's no trash for them, anything to take out. It's you're just eating. Takeout, there's some trash to take out, but you don't have to worry about the cooking and where's the cooking trash itself. Cooking at home, you have to take care of everything, and that would be basically compiled from scratch. Takeout would be maybe Docker containers. You still have to take care of them, but much more taken care of for you. And the restaurants would be something like the app stores of the different operating systems. The boundaries are unclear a little bit, and you can move things around a little bit, but these are real categories for me. This is my lessons learned slide with a wonky map and everything. Probably the most important I pick out from this one, for ourselves as well, that know which part of your code is high margin for you, and treat them that way. Treat them as luxury products and take care of them in such a way. But if you cannot, because there's so much code shipped in every company now, there's not a single repository for most people, but many, then you could decide how you treat them accordingly. And as long as it's a conscious choice, you will make it work much better than if you would just leave it up to chance. That went away. And that was basically me. As James mentioned, I'm from Resin.io. We have a lot of repositories. We have a lot of low margin. We have a lot in the middle that I think we are getting there. We are getting to nail it a little bit, building our own tools around it as well. And we have quite a few repositories that I think we should treat as high margin, important things, but we are not doing it yet, and hope we can start from here on. And that's my big lesson from coming to this conference. And already for this, I'm very grateful for James. Thank you very much.